In your opinion, what are the benefits of local leaders, having local leaders serve on local boards?
Well, if you get the right ones, and that is a big if you get the right ones, you get local perspective on what is truly significant. There's a lot of nonprofits, such as ourselves, that want to prove that we're effective, but we need to prove that we're significant to the city. And local leaders, local folks from profit-making companies, give us that vantage point, that viewpoint that we don't get internally at the nonprofit. Plus, we get a lot of residual benefits, such as, we have their name on our letterhead, which looks great to the community. I mean, a broad spectrum of support for a nonprofit is fantastic. So wonderful names on our brochures, on our annual report, that helps. But on a personal level, for the board members, it also helps them. It also helps the nonprofit for them to advocate for the cause that they're joining the board for.
Imagine two of your best board members, don't mention them by name. What traits and behaviors make them just ideal board members? What qualities do they have that just make you go, thank God they're on my board?
The number one is they have an absolute passion and love for this work. If they wanted to do other work, they had passion for other work, they shouldn't be serving on our board. But that clearly is the number one. The number two is they know that they don't have the time or ability to do the kind of work that we do as a nonprofit. So once they see that balance, they love this work, but they know that they themselves couldn't do it. It's a tremendous balance. Thirdly, probably the fact that they would give us their professional advice. And if I didn't follow all of their advice, they don't get angry about it. I have 25 board members. If I followed all their advice, oh my gosh, I'd be crazy. However, if I didn't consider any of their advice, that would be equally crazy. And probably the last is that they have a real heart to come to see the work, not just to come to board meetings or committee meetings, but to actually see the work that an organization such as us, which is a child serving organization, does out in the public schools, because you want to get board members on fire, have them visit your work.
Those board members, what are some of their qualities that you look for that make them good board members?
Well, first of all, diversity of qualities in each board member. They certainly can't look alike. If they do, that's not good. Actually, one of the qualities is that they not be the CEO's very good friend. While that sounds good, often your good friend will not give you good advice. So that's not a good quality. But one of the qualities is that they are professional. They are what we want our children to turn into. Which is a great quality. In other words, as I look at my board members sitting around a table, 25 of them, I'm very proud to say that I hope and wish that the children that we serve will turn out to be like them, that they don't have scandal in their life, that they're very successful in what they do, that they work hard, and they have all the ethics that we want the children to turn out like. Board members do clearly influence their fellow board members through positive peer pressure. We often talk about that in the elementary, middle, and high schools, but it also happens in the professional world too. If I believe that something needs to be done through the organization, I find a board member to run that cause. Such as if I believe that 100% of our board members should give financially to our board a personally significant gift, I let the board members run that cause. I don't do it myself. I'm the hired hand. I let those who are volunteering and love this work do that, because whether I'm here or not, that's a good value. So they clearly influence the value system, the time, the talent, and the treasure that other board members give to our organization.
In your experience as running a very large organization here in Jacksonville, what are some of the biggest mistakes you have seen that board members do make?
I believe that some of the mistakes that brand new board members might make is that, first of all, they want to micromanage. Not all new ones, but it's a mistake of some new ones. They want to jump in, both feet, they have a great passion for the work, and they think they're going to greatly influence the work of the nonprofit. However, I don't want them not to believe they're going to have an influence on the nonprofit. Another mistake I've seen too is that once they join the board, they think the CEO should spend an inordinate amount of time with them. I can't do that with 25 board members. I commit each year to visit each one of them at least once a year. Well, that's at least 2 or 3 visits a month. Nothing wrong with that. I really enjoy being with them. It's a time constraint issue, not an interest issue. I think the world of my board, but it's a time constraint issue. I don't have the time, and they don't have the time. Conversely, I don't want a new board member thinking I shouldn't spend any time with them. I don't want them to think that if the CEO comes to bother me, I don't want to be on the board anymore. Well, probably you should not have joined the board to begin with.
What should a person consider before accepting a position on a board?
Before anyone considers accepting a position on a board of directors, they should do their due diligence. They should perhaps even Google that organization, check the local newspapers, see what this organization has done, both good and perhaps not even so good. And they ask themselves, if they love that cause and they believe that they can help this organization get to the next level, then join it. Look at the annual report. Look at the financials. Look at the other members that are on the board of directors. Those would be some of the things that I would consider. And perhaps even have a meeting with the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer, or the Executive Director, or some of the staff, and also perhaps even visit the work itself to see it in action.
What don't you want to see in a board member? What qualities, what habits, what is your ideal bad board member?
Board members that should probably not serve on any particular board would be community members that have an advocacy for a competing cause. If they're coming in to try to change the nonprofit, I often say life's too short. Go serve on the board that you can passionately get involved with. No organization is perfect. I mean, I need professional advice. My staff needs it. I love that perspective. But a board member who has an advocacy for a competing cause does not help at all. Also, not comparing their profit company in every aspect to the nonprofit company, such as salary. There have been times where I've watched profit folks say, well, you shouldn't give that increase in salary. We don't get that at our company. Yeah, but you get stock options. You get vacation packages that nonprofits are not allowed to give their folks. So there are, or profit sharing. There are ways that nonprofits are very different from profits, but not in the management of business. We are a business here, and a very significant one. So I do want their professional advice, but I don't want a line-by-line comparison of the profit company to the nonprofit world.
Any negative qualities that really you just don't want in a new board member?
There are several negative qualities we do not want in a new board member. First of all, if a board member is simply trying to build their resume and they want to put on there the name of a significant nonprofit in order to get the next job or whatever, we don't want that person on our board. We don't mind that they build their resume. They should have a benefit from this too. We also don't want somebody that doesn't feel a heart connection to us. They should know that they're going to get something good out of this. They're going to feel like they've done something significant for their city through serving on our board. If they don't feel that, don't serve on our board. It's that simple.
Excellent. Can you cite, without naming names, a board member who had a truly negative impact on the board and ultimately the nonprofit through his or her actions or lack of action suffered? And maybe you've been lucky and you haven't had that, or you've heard of. And it might be when you serve on a board, you have to remember that everything that you do represents indirectly the board you serve.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When any community member serves on a nonprofit board, it is a 24/7 commitment. Whether they're out on the beach on the weekends or at a business meeting or at a chamber function or whatever they're involved with, they do represent your nonprofit as well. And the values. In other words, in a child-serving nonprofit, we don't want our agency being embarrassed by the activities of a board member. Those things can be very, very troublesome to a nonprofit. If somebody, once again, has a competing agenda for being on your board, no matter what it is, whether it's financial or racial or political, those things do not serve the agenda, mission, and vision of a nonprofit organization.
If you had an opportunity to speak directly, as you are right now, to a board, an individual who has been asked to serve on a nonprofit, what words of advice can you give before he or she makes that decision?
Before anybody makes the decision to be on a board of directors for a nonprofit organization, do your due diligence. Check this nonprofit out. Google this nonprofit. Go to your local newspaper and find out what they have done right or wrong. Secondly, make a commitment to be active, not passive. Look for ways to volunteer in the organization, whether it be, in our case, in a child-serving nonprofit. Maybe you can mentor. Maybe you can guest speak in a school to a group of students. Whatever your time allows you to do something outside of the board involvement that gets you to see what the work is all about. That is very, very important before you make a commitment. And as they say, when it comes to finances, give, get, or get off. That is very important for a nonprofit. We want to know who their connections are. Otherwise, why are you belonging to a nonprofit board of directors if you won't open up your Rolodex? Because it really is a sign of your commitment to the nonprofit organization.